Hi, I'm David Weigelt, and this is your Silver Tsunami update for Friday, August 5th, 2011. It's great to be back with you after a little time off. I was so hoping to be able to bring you some video updates, but it turns out that there is not a single cell tower in Yellowstone National Park. So my wife was pleased about that, but nonetheless, I'm back with some good stories and excited to be with you. So for this week's update, 3 stories from the e-brief worth checking out. The first has to do with a study out of Canada that talks about how societal stress is easing in Canada. Interesting survey that was done by a company called Statcom, and it's called the General Society Survey, and it says that the level of stress has improved over the past 12 years despite the economic uncertainties and so forth across the whole society. But what they talk about is that the real driver behind that is adults 55 plus and how they don't feel so tethered to their jobs or financial woes and so forth, and how that's having an impact on the society as a whole. I think it's an interesting lesson for us to learn here in the US, something that we talk about at Emergent Active here, and that is how for the first time we have more adults over the age of 40 than under, and how that affects the society as a whole, not just older adults. So interesting article worth reading. The second one from a marketing standpoint, talking about how empty nesters are prime target for pet retailers and how they're really driving that $50 billion industry. The article talks about a humanization trend whereby pets have gone from being something that you buy a bowl and a blanket for and a leash to members of our family, and how despite the economic situation, there's a growing trend with regard to organic pet food, computerized tags, pet spas. So we've certainly seen that here as a business, and personally just thought I would share. This is really quite a trend that we see extending to brands such as Old Navy, Harley Davidson, Paul Mitchell, Home Depot. So worth thinking about in terms of your brand and how you might be able to connect there. Finally, on the technology front, kind of a lighthearted and fun story about how QR codes have now made their way to headstones, and people want to be able to tell their story once they're gone. And so these 2D codes or tags, if you haven't seen them, there are companies out there now that will allow those to be part of your headstone so that people can get more stories. So I'll let you read that on your own. In closing, I want to share a story with you from my travels, and it has to do with a free glass of water. And on our trip, one of our stops was the Badlands in South Dakota, which I highly recommend if anybody is planning a trip like that. But one stop I didn't anticipate was a little town called Wall in South Dakota in the middle of nowhere. And actually, thanks to some of you for turning me on to that tip as a place that I absolutely need to stop. But just a great story from a marketing standpoint of a husband and wife team who moved to Wall just after the Depression. He was a pharmacist. They opened a little drugstore. They knew they were in the middle of nowhere, but they felt like that was where they were meant to be. And Ted was his name, Ted Husted, said, we'll give it 5 years. And after 5 years went by, they were still spending most of their time standing on a porch watching traffic that had built as Mount Rushmore was established and more people were heading out to Yellowstone. But nobody was stopping at his business, and his wife came out one day after being unable to sleep and suggested to her husband, this is always where good ideas come from, right? Suggested to her husband, why don't we offer these travelers what they need? And that's, probably a cold glass of water. And Ted thought this was crazy because, not crazy, but he thought it was silly because at the time it was widely known that any drugstore would give you a free glass of water. But Ted, being a good husband, a smart husband, took his wife's idea and went out with a couple of other people and created a bunch of Burma Shave style signs and put them along the road. And the first day their store was filled with people not just asking for a glass of water, but then for an ice cream cone and ultimately to fulfill a prescription. And it's turned into quite a little enterprise for the Husteds. Their grandkids now run the enterprise. They receive up to 20,000 visitors a day, and it's really quite a place. And they employ half the town. And I just thought I would share with you in closing something from Ted Husted's journal. And he closes by saying, "Free ice water. It brought us Husteds a long way and taught me my great lesson, and that's that there is absolutely no place on God's earth that's God-forsaken. No matter where you live, you can succeed because wherever you are, you can reach out to other people with something they need." So oftentimes, I don't think our limitations these days are geographical as much as they are our ability to reach our consumers. But maybe we overthink that in terms of things that we're already doing, that we have to offer a 50-plus consumer that they really need, that we're simply overlooking. And it doesn't have to be for free. It could be something that we're doing that's of value, but from a perception standpoint, we just overlook it. So that's my closing thought for you. I hope that you'll visit facebook.com/Silver Tsunami. I hope you'll like us because you like us. I hope you'll sign up for the e-brief and share that with colleagues and friends, because this is important. This is about helping each other in this ecosystem with a business. This is about the opportunity that we have to take a group of our population that has been put on a shelf and turn them into an asset for this country. It's about doing good while we're doing well. I hope you have a great week. Look forward to seeing you next week. Thanks so much.